running on fumes as an entrepreneur. There are times where you're running on what feels like fumes. Did you know that the winning people in Formula One cross the finish line on fumes every single time? If you know going into this that you're going to cross the finish line on fumes, and if you just keep going, you'll eventually get to the finish line. And you just know part of the journey is you're going to be running on fumes when it happens. Then it's just an expected part of the journey.
What is up, Action Taker? Welcome back to After Hours Entrepreneur, your guide to profitable six-figure year. I'm your host, Mark Savant, and today we're joined by Kyle Livingston. And Kyle Livingston is a business consultant coach with the goal of helping you turn chaos into profit. He's also the host of the Project Fortify podcast. And Kyle has got a lot of experience, and I'm just very thankful he could join the show today to share that experience. Really powerful origination story, which we're going to start talking about here for the first 15 minutes or so. And then we're going to get into the brass tacks, how he had built 3 very successful businesses only to lose it all and go completely defunct, completely default. But then to reinvent himself and build a wildly, wildly profitable business, not just for him, but for others. And this story is really, really powerful. And one of the key points that I found here is this simple fact. The business fails because it's about the 6 inches between the business owner's ear. Yeah, plural. All right, cool. Anyway, enough of me. Let's get into this episode. Super dope, super great. And you are going to learn a lot about mindset, a lot about tactics, and a lot about how to kind of take a step back and look at your business. All right, let's get into this show. Kyle, what's up?
What is up, Mark? I'm so happy to be on right now with you, man. So happy to be on with you.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be with someone that can match the energy, bro. Let's go. I'm stoked, dude. It's gonna be a fun convo. And I gotta start, for anybody that's listening, Kyle has books upon books upon books on his bookshelf. I've recently become a book reader. I probably spent the first 36 years of my life being a no reader and proud, but I'm all in. So tell me, Kyle, what's the book that you're really into right now?
Oh man, right now I'm really into a book called Almost Alchemy by Dan Kennedy. And the whole premise of the book is how to spin your ideas. Like the concept of alchemy back in medieval times was that it was a little bit science, a little bit magic, and they would spin unnatural or organic materials into gold. And that was kind of alchemy back in the day. And the book talks about, as visionaries and integrators, how that relationship works to be able to take and spin your ideas that you have into actual gold in the marketplace. So it's a super cool book right now, man.
That makes a lot of sense, considering that basically what you do is help business owners turn chaos into profit.
Yep.
Right. And that's kind of what alchemy is all about. It's about taking all these crazy concoctions and turning into something beautiful, which, to be frank, is probably one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest challenges starting up your business. Mm-hmm. Right. And I was talking to someone just the other day, a young business owner, and she was saying, it feels like I have all these puzzle pieces on the table and I'm trying to put them together, but I don't even know what I'm trying to create.
Yeah. They're missing the cover of they're missing the cover of the box for the puzzle, man.
Yeah, got it. You got to have it. And that's, I think, a big part of what books bring, a huge part of what books bring. I want to go back in time a little bit. I'm going to kind of go Tim Ferriss style on you. I'm going to jump around. I'm going to bounce around.
Let's roll, man. I'll track with you as fast as I can.
Hey, listen, we're on the same page, baby. I have found that entrepreneurs basically, we just solve problems. Mm-hmm. It's problem, solution. And for most people, the problems don't come that early on in life. For you, your problems came at 12 years or 12 weeks old.
Yeah.
So just really quickly, people need to hear this story. Why don't you tell us what happened to you at 12 weeks old?
Yeah, man. So I was actually left at a yard sale. I was born 6 weeks premature, so I spent the first weeks of my life in an incubator and just getting up to a normal weight to get me out of the intensive care unit or whatever it's called. And about 6 weeks of having time with my birth mother, she decided that, like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. And she was on drugs and had her own battles and demons that she was dealing with. And long story short, she had originally planned to give me up for adoption after trying to cancel, right, after basically trying to have an abortion 3 times. And she came to terms of like, all right, this one's got to stay, but I can't keep him. Found a family that was willing to adopt me, canceled the adoption as she was going into labor, and then shows up at their house 12 weeks later as they're selling everything for the nursery that they had previously bought to accept a newborn baby home, which was me. And she comes up to the yard, so she's like, hey, I need to go party. Can you just watch him? And calls like 3 or 4 days later, like, hey, you can keep him. It's cool. And that's kind of how it started, man. It's kind of how it started.
Wow. Again, entrepreneurship is kind of like waking up in the morning and like crossing your fingers that the business isn't on fire. But it's taking that moment to kind of process and understand what had happened. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to go back to that moment. How did you find out that this was what had happened? How old were you, and what was that moment like?
I actually don't remember the moment that I found out. I remember I was less than 7 years old. So like going into 6, 7 years old, I knew I was adopted. I kind of knew that, like, I didn't know I was left at a yard sale. Like, I didn't actually know a lot of those details until later on in life. So I knew I was adopted. I knew that my mom couldn't keep me for whatever the reasons were, my biological mom. And, so I always knew I was adopted. And it was always like I remember getting into an argument with my mom when I was like 7 years old or something around there. And like, I'm just going to call my mom and she can come get me. And like, so there was always that dynamic in the household as I was a young kid. And as I got older and understood, like, okay, like that's not how this works, And then when I turned 18 years old, actually, I was given an envelope from my parents. And in that envelope was a picture of me as an infant and 2 young girls next to me. And a letter from this family who had adopted one of my other sisters. And it was her grandparents who had adopted her. And I actually went onto MySpace at 18 years old, and I messaged everyone that had this name that could possibly be this age. And I actually found my sister on MySpace, bro. On MySpace when I turned 18 years old. And that kind of led me down the path of like, all right, let me figure this out. Let me ask. So I started asking questions. I started asking family members and everybody who was involved, and they all kind of helped me compile the story that I have today. So. Wow.
Well, have you, I don't want to go too far into personal.
Go as far as you want, man.
What impact do you think that has had on you? Because, I mean, listen, and I don't want to call the Gen Zers soft, because I definitely don't think that that's the case. But it's, we live in this world where it's really easy, I think, to make excuses as to, I don't have it as good. And it's really easy to lay it up. It's really easy to lay it up and say, I'm not responsible for these problems that have been thrust upon me, so I'm just going to blame someone else. So I always, this is something I think about a lot. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, right? And I'm wondering, how can I raise them in a way that they're provided for, but they're still challenged?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm kind of tiptoeing around this question here, but what impact do you think that dealing with that type of challenge and trauma at a young age has had in your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh man. To be just totally candid, I don't know if that particular moment impacted me. I think what impacted me more were the things that kind of molded and conditioned as I grew, right? Because I was at such a young age. It was just part of life. It wasn't like this thing that was, I found out at 18 years old and it kind of totally radically transformed my life views or anything. And so the things that, really for me kind of molded me in challenges and things were where I grew up. And I grew up in a town called Hemet. And Hemet is not a good town, man. I messed around with people. It's like, you go to Hemet for 3 reasons: meth, death, and Scientology. For some reason, it is the world gold base for Scientology. Do not ask me why, but it's weird, and it contributes to the strangeness factor of Hemet. Well, growing up, Compton, Watts, these big, ghetto cities, like they were further down the list on most dangerous cities than Hemet and its surrounding city. And so growing up in that environment and growing up in a house where, my parents did incredible at taking care of me, but money was an issue. Money was a problem. And so some months, my dad would have to make the decision of like, what utility is getting shut off? I can't afford all of them. Which utility are we shutting off? Is it the water? Is it the power? Like, what's getting shut off this month until I can get it back on? And I'll never forget there were plenty of times where we would go get, pool water from a neighbor or from our backyard or something and put it on the stove, and we had an electric stove, and we'd warm the big old tamale pot full of water and pour that in the bathtub. And like, that's just how we bathed for a couple of weeks until my dad got paid again. And we'd get home and I'd go to do homework, and it's like, hey, lights are out. We're going to do, homework by candlelight tonight. And they always did a good job of like making it fun and awesome. And growing up, I just thought that was normal, man. I just thought it was normal until one day I realized, like, wait a minute, that's not normal. And so for me, it kind of gave me a thick skin, but it also gave me a massive amount of appreciation. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine last night, actually, over an old fashioned, and we were having the conversation around like, dude, overall, like, how do you feel like your life has been? Like, is it up and to the right, or are you just kind of stagnant? Like, I was like, dude, I was left at a yard sale at 12 weeks. My life, no matter what goes wrong, will always, always, always be up and to the right. I grew up in Hemet, and I don't live there now. My life will always, always, always be up and to the right. And so it kind of gave me a different perspective. And it also, I think, allows me longevity that a lot of people don't have, because people are soft. People do get upset to things that happen to them sometimes ruin them. And, they're in this rut, and it kind of turns into their grave, and that's just kind of where they stay. But like, for me, I didn't get that choice. Like, I grew up fighting. I grew up not in the great places, and we can go down that road later on in the story. But the whole thing was like, dude, I got thick skin. I don't care what you're going to throw at me in business. My business partner wants to dip out with a business. Cool. I'm going to lose a couple $100,000 in a business because I was a bad leader. Got it. Moving on. What's next? So that thick skin and that resiliency, I think, is what I was able to pull out of that more than anything else.
And certainly, in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you're going to need to have thick skin to handle the drama, the stress that comes along with that. I just got to take a moment and give some props to your adoptive parents, because they had every reason in the world not to do it financially, emotionally, but for them to pick up that sword and raise someone like yourself who's doing big things. Respect to you, adoptive parents. You are the real all-stars out there, right?
They really are, man. Props. They really are. And they were in their 50s, late 50s when they adopted me.
Wow.
And so hats off to them. I tell them all the time, like, thank you guys so much for, allowing me to even be alive. Yeah,
no doubt. Y'all are the difference makers who are helping to build difference makers. They say, yep. It's what is it? Strong men. Now, I'm not even go down that road. I can't remember the line here. But what I am interested in here, Kyle, is your foray getting into entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. Your first business, you're getting into constructing cell phone towers, mm-hmm. telecommunications. And when I think first businesses, I'm thinking like lemonade stands, real estate, popular one. You're getting into cell phone tower construction. How did you fall into that as the first business?
Oh man, it definitely wasn't the first business. Okay. I would say it was my first adult business. I'll give you both stories. I'll give you the one how I fell into telecom, but I'll also give you the one I think what you're asking for is like how it all kind of started.
Yeah, give it to me, baby.
We were going into summer camp that year, and I grew up in church, and the church I went to was having a summer camp, and it wasn't like vacation Bible school. Like, we actually had to pay for like the camp and the nights and the food and things. And I remember asking my parents if I could go, and like, hey, we just can't afford it right now. And it was a couple $100, and my dad's like, well, let me help you make it. And so he knew a neighbor, and they let me mow their lawn for $10 front and back, and another neighbor let me do it, and then I was still 100 and something bucks short. So I started knocking on people's doors like, hey, I'm 12, 14 years old, somewhere around, like, hey, I want to go to Bible camp this summer. Like, can I mow your lawn for $5 and wash your car for $5? And I'd go and I'd knock on all the doors, and I made enough money to go to Bible camp. And I was like, this is awesome. And I remember coming back from Bible camp, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep doing this. And so I'd go knock on the doors, and I just kept making money. And I made money all summer, washing cars and mowing lawns. And one of the weekends was like I'd knock on doors Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever, and I'd have all of them lined up, and I'd put my mower and car wash bucket on a little trailer I built for my bike, and I'd go and I'd hit all these houses. And I remember I came home that Sunday or whatever it was, a couple days later, and I'm sitting there counting my money on my bed, and I had like a water bed that was my brother's back in the day. Like, they had folded it up, put it in the attic, and that was my bed. So I'm on my water bed, and I'm counting the money, and my mom walks in, and she's like, oh, how awesome. Like, how long have you been saving your money? I was like, oh, this is what I made from Friday. And she sits down next to me and she gets this like serious look on her face and she's like, you literally made more money than Dad did today.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh, this is really broken. Like, I'm 14 years old mowing lawns. He's driving 2 hours to work because we live in the middle of nowhere, and I make more money than him as a child? Something's broken, having no idea what it was. So growing up as a kid, like 10K a month, 10K a month, 10K a month, like that was the goal. If I could just hit 10K a month, I'm free, bro, right? And I'm driving down the freeway. I had just moved out. I'm 18 years old. I moved into the nearest big city. It's a tiny little city called Temecula. I moved into Temecula, and I'm driving down the freeway in a 1993 F-150, and the padding on the steering wheel is gone, so it's just the steel on the steering wheel. There's no radio because I bought it off a construction crew, and there's a pegboard tailgate. I'm driving down the freeway, and I see a billboard, and it says, if you didn't make 10K last month, call me. Pull out my cell phone, and dial the number, I'm ready, you know? And a couple days go by, kind of forget about it. I get a call back from this dude named Randall Benagas. Shout out to Randall if you're listening. He calls me back and he introduces me to real estate investing. And you were talking about like that's one of the first businesses. And so I got into this real estate investment / network marketing education thing. And went and I think I invested a few $1,000. And I remember I walked into the room and I'm hearing these guys talk about hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit and $1 million deal and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, holy crap. This is a whole new world to me. Like, this is a whole new world. I remember we went up to this gentleman's house. His name was Justin. He lived in Ladera Ranch. He's no longer with us, but I remember going up to his house. And I remember walking into his house in Ladera Ranch, which in California is like the bougie place. And I walk in and I remember looking around like, dude, your bathroom's the size of like my living room. Like, this is wild. And I remember spending the night with him and he was doing a mastermind and I'm 18 years old and my head's just popping off my shoulders, dude. And from that moment, like that was the switch of like, oh, there's something else out there that's possible and real that I just don't know anything about. I didn't learn about it. And that was kind of what started my like aggressive search for something different. At the time, I was actually working for my older brother. He's 25 years older than I am, and he owned a construction company. I was doing some work for him, 18 years old. And this is how I kind of got into the telecom space. I didn't like what I was doing. I was only making $100 a day. I wasn't going to make any more money there. It just wasn't what I wanted it to be. And at the time, I was dating this girl, and her dad was working in that industry. And so he actually got me a job climbing towers at like $16 an hour in that industry, and worked with him for a very short period of time and kind of went out on my own. And dude, I'm driven. I'm motivated. Like, money talks for me. I'm 19 years old, and everything in my life I was doing to not be poor. Like, everything. So I was working 100 hours a week. I was, whatever you asked me to do, you called me, we got a down tower, I need you to go, cool. I was literally flying to Hawaii to fix their towers when it would go down on a 3-hour notice. Like, hey man, site's down in Honolulu, how fast can you be to the airport? I'll be there as soon as I can, because I'm getting paid, right? Like, let's roll, man. And I remember I walked into to my boss's office one day, and at this point, I'm a project manager. It's 21 years old. I'm 21 years old. Walking to my boss's office one day, and I just want to make the same amount of money the other project managers are making. That's all I want, right? I'm a project manager. I've proven my worth. I'm outperforming my KPIs. Like, I just want to make what they're making. He looks me square in the eye, and he goes, "You're too young to make that kind of money." So I pull out my company credit card, I pull out my company truck keys, I go get my company computer, and I set it on his desk, and I walk out. And I'm sitting on the curb, and my girlfriend at the time, which was my now ex-wife, we were together at the time, and I remember calling her, and I'm sitting on the curb, I'm like, dude, I think I messed up. Like, I just walked out of the job, 6 figures a year, right? The dream job at 21. I think I messed up. Like, this sucks. And I'm sitting there on the curb. I'm like, well, let me make some phone calls. And before she picks me up, I had landed a job for a tower company, like a contract job for a tower company that made more money in a weekend than I made last month.
Wait, hold on a second. So you walked out of that job, which, by the way, scary moment. Props to you for actually having the courage. That is extremely hard. I left my job about 2.5 months ago. really
Nice,
tough.
let's go.
Yeah, but let's go, baby. My life is 10x better because of that. You mentioned that you landed a contract job, meaning you're the owner, you're the businessman, you're the solopreneur.
Yep.
You landed the job. How did you land that job?
I just called some contacts. So like I knew people in the space and I just called. I just started because I had nothing else to do, man. I'm like, I've done door-to-door sales at this point. Like I'm a hustler, and I just started calling people on my phone. I knew this guy had stuff. I knew this guy worked in an industry that's similar. I knew this guy worked in this industry. This guy worked for the government. Like I just started, hey, I'm starting my own thing. I'd love to see if you guys have any small projects. And I just started calling people, dude, left and right. I had to wait an hour to get picked up by my wife at the time. Like I had nothing better to do, and I was freaking out. And the guy's like, yeah, man, I have this project that you could do. And it was like 4.5 hours away from my house. And I didn't even have a truck. Okay. I'd always been in company trucks and this. So I had to call my buddy. Hey, Anthony, I need to borrow your truck because I just started a company. You what, dude? Like, you don't even have, all right, fine, dude, borrow my truck. It's fine. So I borrowed his truck, rented all the equipment that I needed, went and did the job. And he paid me on a debit card, like on the job. And I remember thinking like, that's it? Like, I'm done? I don't need to, that's it? He's like, yes, yeah. I'm like, it was the easiest $9,000 I've ever made.
Let's go.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, it's this easy? I'm just going to do this again. And so I started making more phone calls, and I just literally found a contractor who was willing to give me a ton of work and give me a chance. And I went and outperformed for that. And that was just how I kind of started down that vein, man.
That is, I love that action taker mentality. This brings me back to one of an older episode I had done about 1.5 years, 2 years ago with Travis Chambers. And I said, what's the best advice you could give to an entrepreneur? He's like, get someone on the phone that can pay you for something, right? You had every reason to be like, I'm just going to go drink a beer. I gotta, I'm in a bad shape now. But in an hour, you had landed a job. That's so cool. That's so unreal. So at this time, though, you probably don't know much about creating a corporation, accounting, insurance, and all that.
Nope.
So what did you do next, right? So you've landed some jobs, you've got $9,000. How did you scale that up to being a legitimate large business?
So I, the contractor that I was telling you about that gave me a shot. He goes, look, man, in order for me to give you a shot, I need you to have your own CO, your own insurance, your own COI. It has to be a corporation. You have to have all these certifications lined up, blah, 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 blah. Like you got to look legit to the board. You got to be legit to the board. It can't just be some flamboyant thing. And so he helped me actually get some of that set up. And I had been around, like I said, the real estate investing world for a couple of years at this point, just kind of watching, not really participating, but still going to all the seminars and learning all this stuff. And so I knew I needed a corporation. I knew about it. But I'll be honest, man, I none of that slowed me down. I just went and did the things that needed to get done and worried about some of that stuff later. And good, bad, or ugly, that's what it was. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck is they're like, well, I got to get the details done. It's like, dude, just go make some money. Just go make some money, Yeah,
entrepreneurship is basically like jumping out of a plane and building your parachute on the way down. You just don't
1,000%, man.
You don't know what the problem you're going to have is when it comes, which you solved problems 3 times, in fact, right? So you built up 3 of these companies, construction in telecommunication towers.
Yep.
The 4th time, though, it didn't go so hot.
Not at all, man. Not at all.
What happened the 4th time around? You wash, rinse, repeat 3 times. What happened the 4th time that didn't go well?
I attribute it to 2 things. One was I just had a big ego. It was the first piece. And I did it 3 times. The 4th won't be any different. And when things were different, I didn't know how to fix them because I didn't realize that they were different. Because I was so far in the weeds of the business and the day-to-day of the business that when things did go wrong, sure, I saw it, but like I had no idea what to do to fix it, man. And I was too egotistical to ask for help. I think I was afraid to ask for help as well, but I always thought like, oh, it's just going to work out. Everything does. It'll work itself out. And it worked itself out to where I did almost $3 million in revenue and lost $200,000. And like, that's a big blow to your ego.
So what did you do? Because I mean, like if you're bleeding money, that obviously is not sustainable. What did you do to turn it around? Did you just say like, I'm done, sell it, move on to the next one? Or how did you move?
Dude, I just shut the doors.
Okay.
I had one of the worst years of my life as a human being that year as well. And so not only was I egotistical and getting my ass kicked in business, but I was also getting my ass kicked in personal life. And I was letting it, I was in control of what was happening. But dude, all the way to the point to where about 6 months into this new endeavor, I fell onto the ground. I walk into our house. We were living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I walked back in the house, dude, and I just collapsed on the floor. And I remember like thinking, shit, I'm having a heart attack. I'm 26 years old, and I'm like, I think I can't feel my chest. My arms are numb. I can't feel my legs. And I remember like saying all that out loud, and then I'm out. And I remember waking up in the gurney, being rushed into the ambulance. And we had like this dirt road. And so I'm across the dirt road, and I remember the guy that lived down the road driving up and like, man, what's happening? Are you okay? And then boom, I'm out again. And then I'm at the hospital for the next 18 hours, and they're doing all these tests and everything on me. And I remember waking up having all this stuff attached to my chest, and I'm out again. And what had happened was it was a full blown, and I had never understood anxiety. I had never had a panic attack, nothing. And it all came to a head. And my central nervous system was literally like, bro, stop. Like, you can't take this anymore. And I shut down. I had a full blown anxiety attack, thought I was having a heart attack. And it was because I was inside of my business, and I never took the time to diagnose the actual problems. I just let my business run me. And you mentioned this earlier, is like, as most business owners, they wake up waiting for the fires to be put out. They're waiting for all these things to be reactive. And that was the state that I lived in. And it was horrible, man. And my body physically couldn't keep up with the stress that I was putting it under. And it slammed the brakes for me. And I'll tell you what, if I didn't have anxiety before that, the crippling anxiety that happens when you hit the ground on a Tuesday, wake up in the hospital on a Wednesday and have $20,000 of payroll due on Friday and you don't have it, that's a problem. And so we did that. Obviously, I made it good with all the employees. We went on for another 4 months. We did a bunch of other projects. We tried to dig ourselves out of the hole. And I just came to a place and I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And so we closed the doors. Honestly, like, I left trailer because I just didn't have the capacity at the time. I left trailers in Texas. I have storage units just full of telecom equipment and tools that like I had to leave behind. And it was either pay money that I didn't have to take it home or leave it behind. And I just left it behind, and it was just part of it. And so moved on to a different version of my life. And I sat there with my wife and I said, I'm no longer going to create a business that I serve. I will only create a business that serves me.
Okay. So we definitely need to talk about that, because that's something I thought about a lot as I was building up my podcast production agency. Is I don't want to build my own prison. Right. And I looked at, 2 dozen different types of businesses, and nothing was a fit for me. Mm-hmm. Before I get into that though, I got to ask, how much sleep were you getting? You're talking about working 100 hours a week. How much sleep were you getting when you had this health scare?
So at that time when I was having the health scare, I wasn't working that hard. When I was working the 100-hour weeks, I was typically working for someone else, actually, because I was on an hourly rate. But that year that I worked, the couple years that I worked that hard, there was 1 year, and I'm divorced, and a lot of this attributed to that first marriage failing. And there was 1 year where I slept in my truck on the side of the road or on the job site more than I slept in a bed, not a hotel, not a bed. And like, it was just young and dumb and stupid and just naive. And I just didn't know any better. All I knew was I couldn't be poor. And the only opportunity that I had in front of me was an hourly wage. So I just had to work more, make more money, work more, make more money, hope I'm not poor. But when I was in the position of my own business and I collapsed and fell on the ground, I mean, I was sleeping, but I wasn't getting any rest.
Okay.
And, I'm stressed out, waking up at 3 a.m. like, dude, we got this big job. And it's big boy league, man. Like, you'd have a crane that would be $1,000 an hour. And if your guy decided to leave a bolt, it's not like he's getting it at Home Depot. And so he has a 3.5-hour drive round trip to go get this stupid bolt. And I'm paying the crane $1,000 an hour to sit there.
Oy.
Like, that was the life every day, And so that's when I got really, really big into the operational side of my business. Like, I have to be efficient. Like, you can't forget the bolt. You have to have everything that you need at all times to get the job done no matter what. And that's kind of what led me into working operationally inside a business today, was because I had to be so thorough back then. Sometimes it worked, Fourth time it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, checklists, standard operating procedures. We need, I want to get into this transition too. This is a fascinating story, by the way, y'all. If you're digging this story, there's a link below. I definitely want you to connect with Kyle on Instagram. It's 7-Figure Kyle on Instagram. I'll put a link below, because if this story is resonating with you right now, like, you got to connect with the man here.
Thanks, man.
Okay, cool. Okay, one more thing. I just want to point out too, because you're talking about, mistakes, letting your job run you, your business run you, as opposed to you running your business. And I'm glad you said that, because I was just talking to Travis Chappell about this just the other day, and he laid it up so greatly. He said, if you could have all of Warren Buffett's money, but you also had to take his age, would you take it? It's like, hell no. Hell no. Oh no, I'm not even worth a percent of what Warren's worth, but I'd much rather be 39, right? Like, you can't put a price tag on your age and your health. So
you can't, man. You can't. It's so important. And that's even something I struggle with today. Like, I honestly haven't worked out in a hot minute, and I've been personally focused on growing business and doing the things. It's like, dude, I haven't been to the gym in a long time. Like, I need to go, you know what I mean? Like, I need to go work that part of my life too.
Well, and I think so I think about this too. I feel like life moves through seasons.
Yeah.
And kind of recognizing the season you're in is important.
It's so true.
Obviously you don't want to completely neglect your health, but if you can't get to the gym every day, that's okay. That's maybe for a season, for 3 months, 4 months, right? Yeah. You just can't. I was talking to my dad about this the other day, and I was like, I got all this stuff going on. I hate Fridays because it means the week is over. There's only we all have the same amount of time in a day, right?
Yep.
So let's keep going on with your story here, Kyle. So you decided that business, it was great, lots of experience, didn't work for me. How did you segue into the next business? What did that look like? So
I have an odd way of distressing. I love building things. And so, we had some personal money left over that wasn't part of the business money. And we went and bought a 36-foot fifth wheel RV. And initially we were just going to do some paint and update some stuff, and ended up turning into a full-blown gut and remodel. And so I spent the next 4 months just honestly de-stressing and building a super, super cool RV where we did everything. We did the whole gut remodel, and we traveled the US in that for about a year and a half. And the first objective we had when we got into the RV was that we were going to write down what we wanted out of our life. And so we wrote down here all the things that we want out of our life, and we kind of started going through, okay, well, what fits that? Right? What fits that? And we'd go through business after business model after business model after business model. And I still have the diagram where I had like 9 different business models, and I had all the pros and cons, and I'm like overanalyzing everything. And we found digital marketing. And so I started as a digital marketer back in 2017, 18. And probably as actually 2007, end of 2017. And I opened up an agency, started learning. But before I opened up the agency, I literally went online and I bought every single program and course that I could possibly buy and afford. Some of it went on credit cards, some of it went over. And I watched it all, and I consumed it all. And I sat in the forest in my RV with my 60-inch TV in my RV, and I consumed content for the next probably year, and would go do agency work for people for free and just trying it out and testing it out. And that was the way I kind of got into from a brick and mortar business into the online business. And then obviously there was a shift from being a marketer to what we're doing today.
So you completely reinvented yourself.
Oh yeah, I had to, right? I was the construction working guy that had trucks and trailers and worked in the field, and I wore Carhartts, and I was that guy, and had 37 Monster Energy drinks a day. And I was that guy. And it's like, I can choose to be that guy and stay that guy. And by being that guy, I'm limited to the opportunities that I have because of the identity that I have for myself. Or I can just learn something new, recreate how I'm showing up, who I want to become, and have a version of me that I'm chasing versus just being content with who I am. And that was kind of the big shift that happened during that season.
Which by the way, is one of the reasons why the internet is amazing, because your college degree doesn't matter. It's what can you do for someone today.
That's right, man.
I was in the insurance industry for over a decade. That was my career. And then 4 years ago, I said, nope, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Not happy. And I reinvented myself. I fell in love with podcasting, and the rest is history. So you've reinvented yourself, digital marketing. How did you start landing clients off the bat? Because you don't have any experience. You're new. You're fresh. How did you start landing clients?
Asking. Same way I landed my first clients, making phone calls, having conversations with people. One of my biggest clients at the time, a lot of it happened through happenstance, man. It was all word of mouth. I was still learning. So for my clients, it was all word of mouth. And hey, this guy knows this guy and he needs some help over here. And I would do things for $500, $1,000, and I would just figure it out and just have conversations with people. Because I found that if I can have conversations with people and you can get to know me one-on-one, you're going to realize I'm not out here trying to screw you over or pull one over. I genuinely care about you. I want to see you win. Let me help you. But one of the ways that I would do this early on was I would go on Craigslist and I would go on monster.com and I would go on all these platforms that had or who were looking for a digital marketer. And I would go and I would find their website and I would show them a little clip on hey, you're missing a pixel and you don't even have this. And if we set it up like this, I could do this. So if you're interested in me helping you get more conversions and blah, 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 click link below and let's have a conversation. Dude, and I made hundreds of these videos, if not thousands of these videos. There was one day where, I'm on the hunt for clients and I'm trying and I'm grinding. I'm I'm going to be the biggest marketer for Harley Davidson that exists, right? That was my stint I went on early on. I went and made a video for every single Harley Davidson dealer in the United States.
Wow.
And got zero response.
Oh my gosh. That's disheartening, bro. So did you just say, that's disheartening. So what happened next? Did you keep doubling down or?
Yeah, just kept going. The only path is forward, dude. And at the time when we were doing that, we were poor. We were broke, dude. We had no money. I couldn't run ads. I couldn't do anything myself. Candidly, we had just moved into an Airbnb as we were still traveling the US, trying to figure this whole thing out. Dude, and we were so broke. We had nothing. I remember rummaging through the couch when we moved into the Airbnb, after paying the Airbnb, if I could find some change to get dinner. You know what I mean? We were broke. But it's I'm going to keep going, because if I don't, I lose. I was having a conversation with my buddy last night as well, and we were talking about running on fumes as an entrepreneur. There are times where you're running on what feels like fumes. And he looked over me and he said, man, did you know that the number one, number two, number three, the winning people in Formula One cross the finish line on fumes every single time. And so if you know going into this that you're going to cross the finish line on fumes, and if you just keep going, you'll eventually get to the finish line. And you just know part of the journey is you're going to be running on fumes when it happens. Then it's just an expected part of the journey.
That's such a great analogy.
And so you're running on fumes. It's dude, the finish line's got to be around the corner, or we're going to relap and gas up. But either way, I'm making it to where I'm going.
So what was the aha moment, right? What was the moment where you're like, okay, we've got something, it's starting to roll, it's starting to work?
I had two of them. One of them ended in a failed partnership. But the one for me personally, where I was like, man, this is starting to work, this is starting to roll, actually was when one of my clients called me and he was like, hey man, I got to turn off ads. I'm like, what? Your ads are crushing. Why would you turn off ads? He said, because I can't take on any more work. And he owned a commercial construction business. And I was like, this is a horrible offer. This is a horrible offer, man. I'm so good at what I do, you have to stop paying me. What a terrible, terrible offer. And so I hung up the phone with him and I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, I can't lose this contract. It was a $5K a month retainer. I was like, I can't lose this contract. And so I call him back. I'm like, Mike, listen, bro, you're going to pay me next month, but we're not going to run any ads. I'm going to fly up to New York. I'm going to fix your business. He's like, cool. And so bought a plane ticket, flew to New York, spent a week with him in New York, building out all the process, building out all the SOPs, building out all the things. And we doubled his business in 12 months.
Wow. Well, and so that's interesting. you took the experience that you had from your previous construction, so you understand the construction side, and then you merged it with the marketing side.
Yeah, and that's kind of who I was serving. Like that was my market, and he was a construction, a commercial construction guy. But there's only so many jobs that you can take on until you're like, man, my guys can't do any more work.
Right.
And I had in my business, because we were in, I don't know what you call it. It's not like the private sector, but we did stuff for like AT&T and Verizon. It was very commercial, like very, very large. It wasn't like a school or something. I never had to find work. I had more work coming to me in that industry than I ever knew what to do with. And so I knew how to solve that problem for Mike. So I flew to New York, solved that problem. And then when we started seeing his business grow, I was like, oh, interesting. I made you way more money helping you fix your business than I ever would have running ads for you. And at the time, marketing agencies were kind of becoming a dime a dozen. Everybody and their mother was a marketing agency. I was having clients leave because the new marketing agency said I was doing a bad job. And it was just this whole, like, it was a very, very competitive market at the time. And I wasn't the best marketer, and I didn't want to be the best marketer. But for me, that was the vehicle. And then when I realized, like, oh, there's more to this in this space, like I can actually go help you fix your business and help you find tens of thousands of dollars laying on the floor, you don't care what you're paying me because it's free money to you.
That reminds me of Alex Hormozy's $100 Million Offer. I'm not sure if you've read that book.
Oh man, right there.
So good, so good.
Right
Make them
there.
an offer. Make an offer that people feel stupid saying no to. Is that kind of how? So basically, now this is what you're focused on, right? Consulting, helping large businesses, make this transition, right?
Yep.
Optimizing systems, finding that cash. How do you make that offer that's so good that people feel stupid saying no to?
Well, first off, I'm very selective with who I work with, because if I can't get them the results, none of this matters.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, very selective with who I work with about that. And the way that I look at it is I'm a results-based business. Yeah, you're going to pay me up front, and yeah, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. But like, if I don't get you the results, I'm going to work with you and go to the gates of hell with you until I do, and not ask for $1 more. And then once we're done building all of this infrastructure and everything out, you as a visionary get to disconnect from the business because I placed the integrator in the business for you. And so it's a win-win for them. If I don't make them any money, which is almost impossible for a lot of these businesses at this level, because again, I'm very specific with who I work with. If I don't make them any money, I'm just going to work with them until I do. Like you can't say no to that.
But that's dangerous too.
It
I
is.
mean, because when I was kind of starting out my offer, I was kind of feeling it out, like who are the type of people that I want to work with, what are the type of problems that I solve or that I can't solve. If I can't solve it, I'll ship it out. But I found that if I wasn't clear on the front end, if I wasn't good at setting an expectation up front, all of a sudden you get that job creep where all of a sudden someone's like, all of a sudden you're working with someone for months after month after month. You're like, we had a 6-week deal, and now all of a sudden I'm 5 months in. Has that been a problem also, or are you very good at setting expectations?
It's happened, and the times that it's happened, I've had to take a step back and say, okay, why did this happen? And the 2 times that it happened that I can distinctly recall was because that business owner had never failed in a business before. And so I put a criteria of who I work with. If you've never built a 7-figure business and lost it, and you're on your way back and have built it again, I will not work with you. Because you don't understand the feeling and the scent and the taste of failing. And you just expect everybody to serve you all the time because you're on your way up. You don't know what going down feels like. And they tend to want more than they're asking for. And so there was one client where, it turned into a nightmare. It turned into one of the biggest nightmares I had ever had from a client service-based business. And so I just had to get more specific and just put some more boundaries on my container and say, no. They were missing these characteristics. Because, Mark, I'll tell you this, man. It is never, ever, 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 ever about the business. It is always about the 6 inches between the business owner's ears. And so, yes, I transform businesses, and yes, I work operations in businesses, and yes, I place integrators and SOPs and all of the unsexy stuff that visionaries don't want to do. But more often than not, I'm wrestling and we're wrestling with the visionary and the business owner to get them out of the way, because they're typically the ones that are in the way, or they have a belief about their business, or they have a belief around money, or a belief around hiring, a belief around the market that isn't conducive to the goals that they have. And they're typically self-sabotaging to some degree. And you'll be shocked at $10K a month and at $300,000 a month, these same beliefs and these same patterns show up 6 inches between these visionaries' ears, and that's what's typically keeping them stuck.
Wow. Now, and I can get that. There's this feeling of not wanting to let go, I think, right? Not wanting to let go of that control.
Yep.
Right?
1000%.
That is, by the way, super frustrating when you know that something like this is what you need to do. And then they make, like, how do you deal with that when you know that this is the right thing to do? And then and then your client, who is always right, quote unquote, insists, no, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it this way. Do you say, hey, we can't move forward? Or you say, we'll do it your way. We'll try it for 6 weeks. You're going to find out it sucks. Like, how do you deal with that? Because the last thing that I want to do, I hate this. I want to make sure that every person that I touch, every person that walks away is like that. I feel good about that transaction. I feel good. I'm glad that I worked with Mark. But if the problem is that if you go along with something that you know is the wrong path, they're not going to get that feeling. They're going to walk away thinking Mark didn't solve my problem.
Right. And I've had that happen as well. And it was because of the mindset. I mean, we doubled this person's business in less than a year. Went from 800 to 1.89 million in 1 year. Less than a year. It was 9 months, actually. And they were unhappy with it and they're like, you didn't solve my problem. Like, you
Come again?
What do you mean? But to answer the question, it depends on the relationship, the relational equity that I have with this person. Sometimes I'm going to go along with their idea. Like, cool, we're going to do it your way. And I'm going to fight for my way because I know my way works. And I'm going to fight for my way. And if they are just bullheaded and stubborn, cool, I'll let you win this battle. My goal is to win the war, right? My goal is to win overall and make sure that I put as much money into your bank account as I can that it's humanly possible. Like, that is my only goal. Obviously, I want to be ethical and not go to jail and make my way into heaven, et cetera. Like, so that's all part of the game here. But I have 3 rules. And the 3 rules are like, always do what's best for the client, irregardless of if you're uncomfortable doing it. And so sometimes that requires me to not be afraid to have them fire me. Like, fire me, please. If you think I'm not your guy, fire me. If you think my direction is not the right direction, fire me. You should have never hired me in the first place. I will refund your money. Right? And so I will literally fight with someone if I know I'm right. But at the end of the day, it's their business and I can't control what they do inside their business. Number 2, what's right for them is normally going to be kind of outside of what they're comfortable doing. Right? And what they're comfortable doing, like we talked about earlier, was kind of what got them there. And what they want in their business is uncomfortable, and that's why they haven't done it. And they're going to fight like hell to stay in that comfort zone that they've built. Most business owners have an ecosystem of influence around them, and they're not used to being told no. They tell their employees what to do. They're typically kind of alpha. They run the house if they're a male, typically, right? Like, their ecosystem of friends typically look up to them as a leader. They aren't challenged very often. And so when you begin to challenge and push them, you're going to find one of 2 people. You're going to find the person that's egotistical and locked onto their ways, and you're going to find the one that's coachable. And again, this goes back to the filtering in the beginning. I won't work with you if you're not coachable.
Yeah.
Period. Because it's just not worth it for me. Because if you're coachable, it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'll give you a real quick example of this just happening with a client I've worked with for almost a year and a half now. Worked with this client for a year and a half. The first 3 months of working with this client, I did whatever the client wanted to do. Followed their cadence. We did it. Got them to this point. Might be right. I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't working. Like, this isn't working the way I want it to. We got to do something different. And I spent the next 3 months candidly trying to figure out what was going on in the business. Like, what were our profit centers? Where were we at? Like, it took me a long time because the visionary was so chaotic and so shiny object syndrome all over the place. It took me a few months to figure it out. Once we figured it out, I spent the next 3 months fighting with the visionary and the business owner to get them to stop innovating. Like, stop. You can't innovate anymore. This is what we do. This is the business model. We are not venturing into something new yet. And candidly, the business hadn't really made a profit in like 2 quarters. And I'm like, dude, so I came to a point where I'm like, dude, either get out of my way or I have to leave, because if you're not making money, I'm not going to ask you for more money. Right? Like, I will not ask you for more money, because if you're not making money, there's no point. It's all about a results-based business. So he decides to get out of our way. We take the business from doing about 120 to 150 a month to 360 to 395 a month at a 70% margin in 40 days.
Whoa.
In 40 days.
That is crazy.
Every time it's the business owner needing to get out of the way.
Love that. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta pass the controls over. It's very difficult sometimes to see our own blind spots.
Oh, it's impossible, man.
It's very difficult. That's why having trusted coaches, that's why having books, very helpful. Mastermind communities, all very, very helpful.
Yeah, man.
Kyle, I got it. Before we let you go here, I know we're running low on your time. I know your time is very valuable. Before I let you go here, we've got to get into the rapid fire section, the world famous After Hours Entrepreneur rapid fire section. Before we get into that, tell us, where can we find more Kyle Livingston? Where can we get more Kyle in our lives?
Man, the place I'm really doubling down on to share my story and share my journey is YouTube. You can just go search Kyle Livingston. I got a blue suit on. Instagram, 7-figure Kyle. Those are probably the best 2 places to get me. That's where I'm putting out a lot of content right now. Really just wanting to document this all for me, man. Like, I got a cool story. I don't plan on writing a book about it anytime soon. So this is my way of getting out to the world. So yeah, Instagram and YouTube are the best places.
Yeah, the Project Fortify podcast, which, by the way, Kyle, I've been in podcasting a long time, and you've got the juice, baby. You've got the juice. Dude. And I know that A, because the energy, and I know that B, because you're very good at telling stories.
Thanks.
Not everyone has that skill. Being able to tell stories is, in my opinion, one of the most important parts of growing a show and educating more people. So props to you, Kyle.
Thanks, man.
Props to you, Kyle, and the Project Fortify podcast.
Props to you for doing this so consistently for so long. Like, what you're doing and taking the time to extract knowledge out of other people's mind is so valuable to your audience. Like, if you guys are listening and haven't subscribed, or like you haven't left a comment or review, like, do that. Because I'll tell you what, Mark going and taking his time all the time to give you guys this content is not easy, and it is not something that you guys should take lightly. So take the time, show him some love, because it's worth it.
I appreciate that. And to be honest, when you're doing something you love, like last week, we're going to get the rapid fire, everyone. I promise. I know you're ready for the rapid fire.
Oh, man.
Last week,
I could hang out all night.
I was recording. I had a live recording booth. I was recording podcasts for about 8-9 hours at a local university. They were having a space day all day. Left there, hour drive to soccer practice for my 2 kids. That was 2 hours. Another about 40 minutes to get home, get prepared, reset, and then an hour-long interview for the show. And you know what? The second that on-air light goes on, like, it's go time, baby. It's go time. So I would encourage every after-hours entrepreneur out there, when you find that, you're on the right lane. You're in the right lane.
Agreed.
All right, cool. Kyle. Rapid fire, buckle up, Buttercup. We are getting into it right now. Kyle, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Saw 3.
Very
not a big
specific.
scary movie guy, not at all. So that's probably the weakest scary movie you've heard, but not.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. There's some funny answers. That's a good one. If you could be any kind of animal, what would you be?
Oh, a giraffe. Could you imagine the perspective that thing has?
My daughter's favorite animal too, by the way.
There we go, dude.
Good choice. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live?
Right now, I'd probably be Greece.
where are you going to be in 10 years?
Physically? Or
let's go professionally. Okay. Where's Kyle at in 10 years?
The goal for me in 10 years is to literally be the new international, like standardized process for coaching and consulting business when it comes to integrators. And so when you think of integrators for an online business, or you think of operations for an online business, like I want you to think of Kyle Livingston, period. So that's kind of the professional goal that I'm pursuing. And personally, man, I don't know where I'll be in 10 years. Like physically, I don't know if I'll be in the United States. I don't know if I'll be chilling in Antarctica somewhere, dude. I don't know yet.
That's fair. Hey, life is amazing. You just got to keep walking through doors.
Yeah, it is.
If you were on death row, what would you order for your final meal?
In-N-Out, no tomatoes, extra spread, 3x3, animal fries, well done.
That is very specific. I like it.
All my meals when I order, I'm specific on.
If you could sit next to anybody on a plane, who'd you sit next to?
I would have to say Donald Trump, dude. Just in the perspective of like, right now, regardless of what you think of him, he's the greatest showman on earth right now. And I think he has a way of getting people to notice him. And in today's environment and today's world, attention is the metric. Like, it is the vital component to a business is attention. And love the guy or hate the guy, but he knows how to get it.
That is literally talked about nonstop every day for the last 4 or 5 years. And to your point, I've been reading Hook Point by Brendan Kane, How to Stand Out in a 3-Second World. So
yep,
I can dig that. Final question here for you. If you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what would you say?
It's not nearly as hard as you think. And regardless of how you feel, it's going to be okay.
Kyle said it, and I agree with it. Kyle Livingston. Thank you, brother.
Dude, Mark, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Boom. There you have it. Wow. There are so many great takeaways in this episode. I don't really know where to start, but I'll just say thank you for listening to the show today. Thank you for subscribing to the show, and thank you for taking action. Thank you for taking the action that you need to turn your life around, to build a business and life you love. Listen, that journey to 6 figures ain't easy. It isn't going to be given to you, but I'll tell you what, it is gonna be worth it. Woo, when you feel that freedom, when you feel that breeze in the hair, pretty darn good feeling. So I'm excited to be there with you as you get there. So boom, make it a great day. Go take the action, and I'll catch you next time here on After Hours Entrepreneur. This is Mark Savant signing out. Peace.